G'day guys, Sauce20 here, welcome back to Mile Bay. If I time this right, then the new airport DLC should have just dropped, and I'm sure a bunch of you guys have already started building your airports within your cities. Well, Mile Bay is definitely getting an airport, but we absolutely need to add a bit more infrastructure within the map before even placing that thing down. Plus, I've got to wait for a couple of mods to get updated before even installing that DLC, but it's definitely coming. So today, we've got to fix up some of the highways, we've got to add in some more public transport, we've got to think about where that airport is going to go in the first place. I'm sure a bunch of you guys are probably in the same boat as I am. But before I even get to any of that, last episode we placed down a bunch of different harbours for our barge line, and did place this one down within Cape Lewis. A lot of you guys were not that happy about it, and my residents absolutely were not happy about it. So we've gotten rid of it, I've moved it, it is now in a much better location. A way more appropriate location within an industrial hub. Who would have thought? So there it is, back where it belongs. We've now got our big parkland back up, so these guys just got some nice beautiful views of St. Marie. But anyway, let's get out of Cape Lewis. Yes, I'm going to keep calling it Cape Lewis because I've committed, we're sticking with it. So like I said, airports are massive, and we really need to think about whereabouts we're going to be placing it within St. Marie. And originally, I was thinking of placing our airport around here, because I thought we're going to be placing some sort of highway through the city, and there's good rail infrastructure. We've got a train station here, and a train line that stretches all the way around the map. It's got good connection like that. We've also got a pretty nice proximity to the city, the CBD, and I mean, it's a bit of an industrial hub. There's not really a huge amount going on down here. We could totally relocate these guys. I'm sure we'll give them a much better property somewhere else. But the thing is that because we're not going to really be building a highway anymore through the city, that was the census from you guys, which I agree. I think the city kind of looks nice the way it does already. Don't think we need to drag a big old highway through the middle of it. We need a bit more infrastructure for that. So, I mean, this is where the highway is, and we definitely need to have our airport somewhere near the highway. Pretty much all airports have great connection to a highway, at least all international airports. So it is really important that it has great connection to the highway, no interruptions, not going through the city, just straight to the highway. So I mean, somewhere around this highway is going to make the most amount of sense, and somewhere around these sort of areas, not so much, because it'd have to go all the way through the city, all the way through residential areas. Not a great idea. So, I mean, we've got a couple of spots where we could place it, but we've also got a couple of mountains that do make this whole situation a lot trickier. You know, thinking about flight paths and also just noise, these things are noisy. You don't want to place it too close to anything residential. I mean, some sort of farmland. We've got a couple of farmlands. We could place it around here. I mean, there is quite a lot of open space. Only thing is we've got, I mean, this is a very bustling, fantastic industrial hub that I don't really want to disrupt too much. We could place it around this area. I mean, there's not a huge amount, but there's also not a huge amount of room. I mean, I kind of just feel like somewhere over here might be the best spot. We've got great connection to the city. I mean, we've got this road. I know there's a couple of intersections, but it's not too bad. We've got a fantastic connection to the highway, and it's a bit of an open field. I mean, there's not a huge amount of stuff going on down here. Yes, we will interrupt some farmland, but that's okay. We can manage. The train line is right here, so we've got great connection to public transport. The only problem is we do have a couple of mountains, so flight path-wise, we're probably going to have to just reduce the size of this hill over here, which is fine. I don't really mind doing that. In fact, we're all talk at the moment. How about we just start doing some stuff? So we're going to get rid of all that. I should put it on pause because we're about to make some pretty massive changes. And then just thinking about the clearance, we have quite a bit of space around here, so I think potentially having a runway facing this way, and then even one kind of going like that could also work, because that way we do have a bit of space. But this interchange, I mean, let's just commit. Let's just get rid of it. We're going to demolish this whole interchange, and we're going to replace it with something else. And the thing is, we do need a pretty big interchange here because we do have 4 roads that meet. You know, this road needs to connect up to this town, and we've got this highway that needs to connect like that. So whatever we do need some sort of big interchange. And then that interchange is now also going to serve the airport. So that just makes things even more complicated. I reckon we flatten a bunch of this area out because we're going to have to do that anyway. Remove some trees just to make it a bit easier to see what we're doing. And then it's just a matter of just figuring out where those runways are going to go. I think 2 runways would be probably appropriate for an international airport of this size, for a city this big as well. But I just don't really know where I'm going to place them. I guess I've only got a couple of options. I'm going to use some roads just to plan it, and then when we have the DLC, we'll replace them with the proper runways. Somewhere, maybe like, I don't know, maybe there? That's enough clearance. We can go through this valley. I know it's a little bit sketchy, but I don't know, we're kind of running out of space. Okay, I'm just now remembering how big airports are. I'm so glad I'm putting in this preparation now because far out. These things are massive, and I do want to have like somewhat realistic looking runways at a decent size. I know that the ones within the game are pretty small, but I would like to make my runways at least fairly big, and I would like my airport to be an international airport. I don't want to go for anything too small. We're going to be trying to go through the milestones of the airport progression, so I do want to set up for a pretty big one. So you know what? I'm actually thinking, okay, I've got an idea. First of all, I can't believe I was going to put it here in the first place. There's no space for an airport there. Now that I think about it, I don't even know if there's going to be enough space here either. I mean, the clearance is just not that large. We need a bit more clearance than that. The water, the ocean is probably the best spot for a bit of clearance. And we do, if we were to push it a little bit further up here, then we do have plenty of space between these mountains and also the city. So this is my thought. This is what I'm thinking. Let's get rid of these trees. We're going to replace all this. It's going to look so much better. So I was always going to replace this highway up here. It never looked right. It was too large for this area, and it always looked a little bit unusual in this location. An area like this gives us so much more clearance. It gives us more room for our runways. It means we can add in potentially 3 runways. You know, something a little bit, I was about to point to the screen. Something like up here would actually totally work. And that way we can actually have something even running a little bit over these areas like that. You know what? We've got this little golf course too. So I sort of feel like if they're going to build an airport and have a runway somewhere, it usually goes over places like a golf course or an open field or a bit of industry. They try to avoid going over a bit of residential areas. So I'm going to have a little bit of a play, and we'll jump into a time lapse because, well, I mean, I've just given myself just so much work to do. Totally fine though. I'm kind of really pumped to start getting into it now. I've been wanting to change these highways for ages. So this airport is going to make so much more sense. We've got our industrial hub already here. So that's a tick for cargo coming into and out of the airport. We have our rail infrastructure. We have our highways. We've got our clearance. We've got all the stuff that we need for that airport. We just need to start placing it down. So since recording all that live play, I have now played with the DLC. I've actually done 2 live streams as of recording this commentary, and oh man, first of all, this is a really fun DLC. I didn't really anticipate how much fun it was going to be, but I have just done a bit of a vanilla build as I've done 2 live streams, and yeah, I mean, it's great. But I am realizing that I might not have enough room for this airport because I don't know if you've caught those live streams, but yeah, they get pretty big, especially if you add a couple of runways. And I'm sure if we do end up building an international airport, which is what I do want to go for, yeah, we're going to need a little bit of space. But I do think that the scale does need to be drastically different than the one that I have been doing during the live streams. That one is, you know, I'm just kind of going, whatever, just doing a massive one just for the fun of it. But this one definitely has to be scaled down because otherwise it will make the rest of the map just look really, really small. So we do have to be a bit careful of that. So I think it's just a matter of experimenting, seeing what we can end up coming up with. But yeah, just keep in mind, the next live play that we do, so we will do a time lapse for a bit and then we'll jump into a live play. But yeah, when I do the live play, I still hadn't played the DLC, so just keep that in mind. But in terms of what we're up to at the moment, I am just working on the highway that I wanted to stretch around the airport, and I wanted this highway to look as if the road had been upgraded to this highway, so you know, it is stretching towards another town and it is going to intersect with other roads that I most probably will have a set of traffic lights. So we'll probably just have the one big interchange where we are working on right now. You know, we've got two highways meeting each other. So I think that kind of makes a bit of sense. Plus, this is going to be a pretty high traffic flow area. So I think a big interchange is going to be worthwhile. But in other areas, not so much. We could probably get away with just a set of traffic lights and that'll be about it. But yeah, that highway that goes underneath that other interchange, or underneath the interchange, I guess, stretching towards a little town, which I believe is called Minai. I always forget the name of it. But there are just lots of segments of that road where lots of segments of that highway that turn into a road. So it kind of goes through the city and goes over the bridge and then goes towards Minai, and yeah, it's a fun, different type of highway, and it definitely has a different thing going on than the one that goes above it that stretches to St. Louis and to Cape Louis and St. Marie. Getting my words mixed up already. We are now working on the interchange, and similar to the airport, we got to keep this thing fairly small. The other thing that I didn't like about the last interchange, that last interchange that was sitting here was made by Al, and it did look a lot better than the one that I'm creating now. But in terms of scale and I guess the style of the map, you know, I guess we're going for a much different sort of style, and the different types of interchanges that do sit on this map, I think need to sort of match what we are generally going for and the scale that we're going for. So I think this one definitely fits in a lot better. It is much lower down into the ground, and it is, the gradient is definitely not as large as the last interchange. Because the last one was on like a massive ridge, whereas this one I have sunk down a lot more. So it is a lot more flush to the ground, which I think makes a bit more sense as well. And it's a little bit more discreet. It means that the highway will not be overshadowing the airport. It will almost be sort of hidden away in it. In my mind, I don't know why I'm thinking like that, but it kind of has that going for it. And you know, I'm just sort of making it a lot smaller than any of my other interchanges. Although I do tend to make much smaller intersections like this than kind of going for anything too massive. And that's probably because I do scale down my cities quite a lot. So they do tend to be much tighter and way more compact. But I do think that this sort of, fits in with the game design anyway. I mean, if you look at the ones that came with the game, they are really, really tiny compared to the ones that are on the Steam Workshop. So I think it's just something to consider. I was also trying to make a tunnel work there, but it didn't work. So I abandoned that idea, and we've just got a very, very close near miss of a clearance. But there's enough clearance, trust me, don't worry about it. You will see it in the cinematics. There's plenty of clearance. Now I'm just reimagining where that road heading towards Minai is going to go. Like I have said quite a lot within this game, within this series, always trying to imagine where those main roads are heading and how they've upgraded over time. You know, this is an avenue here, but, you know, at one point it would have been some sort of dirt road that headed towards Minai, and it's just been upgraded, and now this highway stretches over the top of it. And I always just think, how has this changed? What is here? What is disappeared over time, what's been upgraded, all that sort of stuff. I always love imagining that sort of stuff. But this road, I would imagine, is quite an old road that has been just developed on over time, but still quite a lot of farmland around here. But I reckon we'll probably have to get into some of these areas at some point and just add probably some more industry and maybe even some suburbs. I don't think these farmlands are going to stick around forever. Something else that might not stick around forever is this sad excuse for some sort of interchange that I am building. I mean, I wanted to do something a bit different. I very rarely do roundabouts. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't do roundabouts, but I just don't ever really do them. But that was an attempt there just to do something a bit different, and I'm not totally sold on it. I don't know. I feel like in Australia we do a lot of roundabouts, but I don't know if that's the case in American cities. for someone who flies over American cities a lot on Google Earth, I should probably know the answer to this, but I feel like I rarely see any sort of roundabouts, and I'm not prepared to all of a sudden just go and have a look on Google Earth or even Google it. You know, we don't do that sort of research within my videos. We just make assumptions and call it a day. So at the moment, I am now just like starting to fill in some of the spaces around these areas. I don't want to do a huge amount of detail just because I wanted to see how the airport starts adapting and figure out what we need around it as it progresses. But I just wanted to add in some trees and a couple of just roads that head out towards these ways. You know, maybe this will be some sort of nature reserve. I feel like this beach, I mean, I don't know. It is directly underneath a massive runway, potentially 2 runways. So I can't imagine this being an absolute great location to just have a nice, relaxing swim in the ocean. I would definitely go somewhere else. For that matter, maybe down in Minai, I think would be a much nicer place to swim. But look, I'm sure if you're a avid plane watcher, then you'd probably go to a beach like this. And I mean, just check out the traffic flow on this thing. It's pretty nice. It flows beautifully. I love like just putting together these interchanges and then just watching just how traffic gets around the city. Unfortunately, that won't stay like that forever. As soon as we let the simulation run for a little bit longer and just, I don't know, just seeing all the traffic coming in, I think we're gonna have to make some changes with traffic president mod because, yeah, this is like the first intersection that people have, or first opportunity people have to get into Saint Marie, I should say, and yeah, it's just like it gets banked up pretty quickly. So we'll have to probably make some changes. Now we are just working on some suburbs. I wanted to build some different style of houses around these areas. You know, we've got a lot of zoned areas, but I thought let's do some places that a bit more dedicated to maybe some like housing projects and maybe even some you know, communities that have houses that are like new developments, you know, places that develop multiple blocks at a time. So they're usually around these sort of areas. I guess they buy into farmland or vacant areas and then they can build on much larger blocks of land. Whereas I think that would be a lot harder to do within the cities because they already have quite high density of you know, either commercial or residential areas. So, you know, those sort of places you don't usually see this sort of housing estates or housing developments. Whereas places like out here, you know, you've got places that have only just recently become residential and they can just buy up big blocks of land because they probably were farms or, you know, some sort of industry that's been just pushed out or, you know, something like that. So that's why I always sort of build those sort of bigger estates out in these sort of areas. By now, you've probably seen a glimpse into how bad the traffic has gotten around here. The reason why is this is the first interchange for people to get to the city, but also this is going straight into the industrial area. So I think we're going to need to just make some changes. But that is absolutely a job for another day. Let's jump back into another live play and see how everything's starting to go. Thankfully, we're still making pretty good money. I was worried that not only were we going to blow through a bunch of cash, but I was also going to start losing some money. I don't know. You never know what's going to happen when you start messing with some highways. But, you know, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. So this is it. I mean, this is what I'm thinking. We made some pretty big changes in this episode. Some places, some areas that I did not expect to get to. But, you know, I think ultimately this is going to make a lot more sense. I mean, you can see that we were just never going to have enough room here. I am still surprised that I even thought we were going to be able to place an airport there. Not going to happen. Over here, we've got plenty of infrastructure. We've got plenty of room to expand, and we're not going to be restricted when it comes to expanding and upgrading this thing. So I am thinking 2 runways, but we'll probably just start with the one. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I haven't even played with the DLC yet, so I don't even know what to expect. Something that I'm actually noticing that our train line, we have no connection from this line to this guy over here. This is obviously going to go towards our cargo hub. We might have some sort of connection to some sort of passenger service. I don't know. You guys let me know. Obviously, it would be good if we did, but I also don't know if it's totally necessary. So we'll just see what happens. But totally necessary, we do need a connection like this. And I am feeling just a bit lazy, so I'm I'm just gonna go tunnel. But with that connection, we're gonna see just an excellent supply of cargo coming in and out of the city from whatever terminal we have over here for cargo. But then we also have the port, which is going to be a direct access not only for trucks, but just this rail line I think is going to be a really nice, easy way to get freight just in and out of the city. And then the highway. So we've got this big interchange that, I mean, it's not my absolute proudest work, and there's no detail on it because we'll do that in the next episode, or at least coming up when we get to the actual airport. I just think it's just a much better entrance to the city because I think this just looks a lot more realistic. The other one sat way up here. It was really, really high up and it was massive. Whereas you look at the size of that interchange compared to the city, and in terms of scale, it just makes a lot more sense. But it's just going to look so nice. I mean, just imagine driving along here and there is the airport, planes taken off to your right, the city over on the left. Beautiful. It's going to be great. And then, of course, this down here. Not proud. I mean, I just don't do roundabouts, and I just don't think that this is going to be the best solution for this. I don't know. What am I missing? I know there's probably a real simple fix. Maybe traffic president mod. What am I missing here? I feel like I'm not doing something right. And in terms of getting to the airport, we can add one more thing, and I think this is going to make probably one of the biggest differences for me, just because I would imagine that this airfield, well, this airport, you know, when it was first built, it would have been obviously before the highway, and the highway's been built later. And this probably would have been just a really, really small airfield, probably been just for domestic flights, and would have been much smaller. Just one runway, nothing too fancy. And there would have been a direct route from the city to the airport. And I kind of have a bit of an idea of which road we're going to use for that direct route, because I don't think it would have been this one. I think this one would have just been going towards the docks. I reckon that we would have probably seen a connection. I mean, this road along here is a bit of a main road, and I will upgrade it. I'm definitely going to upgrade the bits that go through the farmland. But I reckon this is a perfect route towards our airport. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this part because I think it's going to go in a different direction. And then we'll start with the dirt road and we'll do a bit of upgrading as we go. You can do a bend, and then there's going to be a connection to this interchange. Sorry, there's going to be a connection to this highway with an interchange, not the other way around. So I think that we'll probably do something like this, and then obviously the airport interchange will be here, and then, I don't know. It's really hard to build this stuff without knowing whereabouts the airport terminal is going to go. But I don't know. Something like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to upgrade it, because the next time we have an episode, the next episode, oh man, losing my words. The next episode, we are going to be working on this interchange and the terminal. So we're just preparing ourselves for that episode. So this is now a big main road. We could probably, do we have room to expand? Not so much. Well, kind of. What about if I just start doing a bit of this? Okay, that's not too bad. We'll remove those guys. That can go. All this commercial can go. This can push over. That can go there. We'll probably need to upgrade this entire road, so it will end up getting a lot larger, but I'm just going to leave it. And then you can just imagine we're going to really expand into these areas. So this will probably be way more developed up, and we'll probably put some commercial, and I reckon this farm will probably end up having to be disappeared. Oh man, okay, that's it. I'm calling it. It is the end of the episode. My brain can no longer put words together. I think it's pretty much 3 strikes and I'm out. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. Very much appreciated. Big thanks to the people over on Patreon who are supporting the channel. Keith Hoffman, Chris Jones, Andrew May, Yeah Man Same, Justin Alonso, Namir Khan, Terry Groff, Valeria, The Federation, Tony Perrick, and Vindicator. Thank you all for your support. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.